Chris and Julia, it's really lovely seeing you after several months. Just coming to catch up with you really on what you've been up to, because obviously as Theatre Absolute, you've done for many years the whole touring company thing. You've also ran the Shopfronts Theatre in Hull for a number of years, and most recently you've taken some time out to think about what next.
Yeah.
So just interested in what it was like to stop.
Yeah, what it was like to stop. I mean, yeah, we closed the shop front in about November 2022, and obviously there was a lot of packing up of lots of things, both the physical space and that kind of like wheel of constantly cycling out events and things like that. So yeah, it's been it took a while to kind of find our feet and rhythm again in terms of creatively where we wanted to be, you know, both personally as artists but also as Theatre Absolute. And I think for me as a producer at the time, I was still in that mode of like, we've got to, you know, we need to apply for this or project this. And Chris, you were very deliberate, weren't you, in terms of saying, no, let's not, no, let's wait, and let's wait a bit more. And I was like, okay, let's wait a bit more, and then I got into the groove of kind of like waiting for the moment.
And that's so important, I think, having that voice. I mean, certainly you guys doing it has really helped me taking time out. What was your experience, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's hard to sort of practice what you preach sometimes, but actually I kind of like the idea that I mean the shop front is still there. You know, we left because they were going to knock it down, and it's still there now. So occasionally I walk past it, you know. But equally, I've kind of been able to shed that skin. What I thought was not tricky, but was harder sometimes to navigate, or still is harder to navigate, is I think people sometimes associate, because the shop's gone, therefore Theatre Absolute no longer exists. And of course it does, and that's in a way where we are now with a lot of our thinking. And after making work as a company for over 30 years, and we've done almost like 3 phases of the company, founding the company, being a touring company, being a venue-based company in the shop. What does a 4th phase even look like? You know, and that's some of the thinking we've been trying to do, really.
So, what came out of this period of reflection?
Well, at the moment we're, I suppose going back to what I just said, is that what does it even look like in another phase of work? And also, one of the questions was not so much where you take off from, but where you land as well, you know. Because as we speak now, you know, there's as always seems to be, but I get a lot of turbulence, you know, globally, a lot of things to grapple with, you know. And so I suppose what we've become really conscious of is, I suppose, our place within the public sphere. That's the main sort of thing that's come out, is, you know, our relationship to the public doesn't end just because the shop front has gone. And so we've embarked on this a new phase of thinking, a new project, which is called Project Public. Because we are the public, but also equally the public is a project for artists as well, isn't it? What's your interaction? But what's our relationship? You know, I've kind of felt sometimes a kind of sense of detachment, and almost like a withdrawal sometimes from the public. And I'm exploring some of that, really, that liminal state between being very conscious as an artist working with Theatre Absolute, massively super connected with lots of different artists all the time in the shop front for 13 years, and now suddenly, post-venue, I'm feeling quite disconnected. But that in itself is something to explore in terms of our relationship to the public. So that's kind of where we are. Did you want to say anything, Julia? Or?
Well, only that with this kind of period of time, I've actually been able to focus a bit on my own kind of textile practice as well, linking to Theatre Absolute and the idea of Project Public, and just being able to have the time to do some workshops with people and really interrogate my own practice, and slowing down and thinking about the value of that in the community and stuff. That's been really rewarding. Whereas at first, closing the shop, I was like, I don't want to do any more stuff engaging with anybody, because I was just tired. actually, this period of time has just made me think, oh no, not using the word value, lightly, but the value that I get of like being in a workshop situation and engaging with others and taking things slowly. That's been really great.
So tell me a little bit more about what projects are you're delivering already as part of Project Public, and in particular, what are you bringing through from the time in the shop front and as a touring company, and what are you leaving behind?
Well, we've always, as I think we mentioned earlier, we've always worked with other artists collaboratively, and for Project Public, we didn't want to get straight into delivering something out. So, like we've talked about, the period of reflection, but we commissioned Adele Mary Reid, who's a photographer, and she took us on a walk around Coventry as part of her response to Project Public, and that was really interesting because for 13 years we'd been in the shopfront theatre, so 10 massive windows, big doors, creative work, all happens in there. And it was actually it was a lovely experience to be outside on Hersal Common in the fresh air, thinking and talking about ideas and what was next. I mean, for me personally anyway, and that was really interesting. And again, it's that thing that I took with me on that walk was what I learned in the shop, which was actually, you don't need lots of stuff. You've got your experiences, your imagination, and that was really good. And I think that was, for me, that was a really lovely moment to walk with Adele and just feel a bit freer. And again, take the pace slower. So I don't know about you, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going on from that, so the framework of Project Public takes on that feel of like different artists responding to the provocation. So Adele was the first person who responded, and then I've made a response, a short film. I do a lot of cycling as well, so this is a short film with text, with the film of me cycling, exploring the environment and my relationship to that environment and that public. And Julia's currently sort of formulating some ideas towards a response of her own as well. And then going forwards, the Project Public will have again more commissions for other artists to equally take on the provocation and begin to explore their relationship to the public in whatever sense that means for them.
So it feels to me that what you're talking about is artist development, and I think that's really interesting because we often talk about artist development as something that happens at the early stage in an artist's career, but actually it's so important that it happens throughout, isn't it? So this period of time to reflect is a really rich and important thing. It's a difficult time for artists at the moment. Is there anything that you can share from your experience that might be useful for other artists?
Well, I think I understand and appreciate the actual luxury that we've had being able to take this time to form a response. And as I said earlier, like Chris deliberately slowing us down has been really valuable. You don't think it at the time, but actually it is. It's really enriching to do that. Now, like I said, it's a really difficult time for artists. And so being able to afford to take the time to stop, it's just not possible. And I wish a lot of the organisations who may be around here, or if they are serious about artist development, if we could just build in a bit more kind of free time for artists, I think that would be amazing. Because from those quieter, slower moments, I know it's corny, but good things do come. Because it means that you've had time to really think about your ideas, to really interrogate a project and your own personal responses to stuff. And we don't just think at our hyper-local level, but we also need to think about where we are in terms of globally and stuff. So it's about thinking about our responses in the neighbourhoods and how that kind of like manifests and ripples outwards. And being able to have that time is so valuable. And like you say, artist development is seen, a lot as early career, but actually we all invested so much in terms of our kind of creative lives. It is important that we constantly keep staying curious about stuff and keep making work, and where we can have these little downtimes of reflection. I mean, obviously we've had a good few months, but actually even just building in a time of pause, post-project maybe, or even once a week where you can just have, non-thinking intentional time is really important.
I think that's a really lovely place to end.
Mm. Can we get some service?